Welcome to the Live from the Pen podcast, hosted by Smoke D, who was featured on UGK's Riding Dirty album. This ain't just a podcast, it's a movement. Live from the Pen is where the unheard get heard, where the forgotten get remembered, and where change starts with a conversation. We bring you stories from behind the walls, stories of pain, purpose, progress, and power. We're talking about men and women fighting to rebuild their lives, families trying to hold it together, and communities pushing for something better. This is an interactive prison reform platform, a place where you'll hear real voices, see real growth, and feel what redemption truly sounds like. No filters, no fake narratives. Just raw truth and the realities of incarceration, transformation, and survival. We're breaking the silence, we're breaking the stigma, and we're building bridges from the cell block to society. So tap in, stay locked with us, and be part of the change. Because when we say live from the pen, we mean living proof that progress is possible, that redemption is real, and that every voice, no matter where it's coming from, deserves to be heard. For more Trill content, hit us up at trilllife7613.com and join the Trill Life community, where truth, unity, and progress always stay true. Now reporting live from the pen, your host, Smoke D.
Yep. Yo.
Whoa.
What's poppin'?
What's up, man?
What it do, what it do?
What, the thing?
Yeah, show us Grit's
Say it.
groceries.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get in too, man. I guess they're going to, I don't know. I guess she's got us like, I don't know, on hold or
If you're
something.
doing anything, you want to do it as high as you can do it. Brother Fiend, can you hear us?
I can definitely hear you guys. Excuse me, babe. Excuse me, babe.
Yeah. Partners, we're going to get the audio together. But tonight we have a special guest, a legend, a no-limit legend, my brother.
Whoa, nah.
A.K.A. Fiend Roger, a.k.a. Fiend.
Hey. Hey, what it do, what it do? Hey. Y'all intro is pretty cool, man.
Brother, we got a delay on there.
A delay on what?
I can't
A delay on what?
But we're going to get it together.
Yeah, we're going to get it together. I tell you what, Brother Fiend, since we got a delay, we're going to keep going into this. Tonight, we want to talk about how music affects us. We got a special guest from New Orleans, Louisiana, No Limit recording artist and a legend by the name of Fiend. Good brother. We're trying to get the audio together so that him and Brother Maurice can be included in this tonight's show. If you would, bear with us. We sitting here, brother. Cap it up. What are some of the things you've been doing?
Well, some of the things we've been working on here in Mississippi is like right now, the legislative session has recently started.
Okay.
And so that's every year in January in Mississippi, we have a legislative session where different bills and bills are introduced by the House and by the state Senate in the hope, in some cases, that they become law. And for us, usually the hope that some of these things don't become law. And there was a very important bill that was introduced in the state legislature this year. And it was introduced before it was introduced, there was a press conference that was attended by most of the leadership of the Black Caucus of the state of Mississippi, of the Legislative Black Caucus, and that was the Robert G. Clark Voting Rights Act.
Right.
And so Robert G. Clark was the first Black representative to sit in the Mississippi State Legislature since Reconstruction.
Right.
And so he came into the legislature after the passage of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. In 1967, he was elected, and he was the only Black representative in the state legislature for 8 years. And so on Martin Luther King Day, there was a press conference on the steps of the Mississippi State Capitol introducing a bill in his name. And one of the people who spoke was his son, who's also a representative, but it was actually, I believe it was drafted by Zacchaeus Summers, who happens to be my representative of the Mississippi State Legislature. But the point of the Voting Rights Act, the Mississippi Voting Rights Act, named after Robert Clark, would be to protect the status quo effectively, and to add some new safeguards to voting rights in Mississippi, especially in the event that something that's connected to Louisiana happens.
Right.
So there's a case before the Supreme Court right now from the state of Louisiana called Louisiana versus Calais. And depending on how the Supreme Court votes, that could take away portions of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which protects effectively the ability for Black voters to have the ability to elect representatives of their choice.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is overturned, we could lose roughly half of the Black political representation in Mississippi, but this would sweep the whole South. So they're really targeting Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, all of these places where Black people are in a very large percentage of the population and have made significant political gains as a consequence of the Voting Rights Act. This is another attempt to roll back all the gains of the civil rights movement. And so, we're supporting that bill, which is House Bill 1146.
Well, how can how can the people in and around Jackson can support what you're doing?
So there's several things that people can do. The first thing is that they can reach out to their local representative, and they can also just go to the state capitol. So the state capitol is in Jackson, which is the largest and the blackest city. It's the blackest large city in the United States.
Right.
But it's the largest city in the state of Mississippi. And so, but very rarely when we're in the capitol do we see the regular people of Jackson showing up to have their voices heard there. And so we would encourage them to come down, have their voices heard, stand in support of that. And then lastly, there's another bill that's targeting improving the environmental situation in Mississippi, and that's House Bill 1162. And that was also introduced by Representative Zacchaeus Summers in this situation. But the person who really pushed for it was a Black woman in a place called Gloucester, Mississippi, which is a tiny Black town in a mid-county. And they've been fighting this multi-national corporation that owns a wood pellet producing plant there. So that's, and people have been getting sick. There's been issues with dust, issues with noise. And at this point, the state of Mississippi has seemed to be siding more with the multinational corporation than with the Black residents of Gloucester, which is just par for the course. And so we are trying to get more oversight around environmental standards in Mississippi so that small Black communities where they put these things are protected from the environmental impacts of those things.
Okay, well, brother, let me ask you this. 'Cause, like, for me, and this is just my personal opinion, like, they say vote, and I'm with the vote. But, it's a lot of people, and I used to think like this. It's like whether you, excuse me, whether you vote Republican or Democratic, it's like they give us an illusion that we have a choice that we never have because nothing ever really changes.
Well,
right?
it depends where you are, right? Because like in Mississippi, it's a little something different. So one of the things they're trying to say at the Supreme Court case is that when they were changing the maps in Louisiana in a way that might have negatively impacted Black representation, that they weren't doing it for racial reasons. They were doing it for political reasons. Their motives are political and not racial. But in Mississippi, and in a lot of the South, there's a strong alignment between the way people vote and the way people look. So, like in Mississippi, Mississippi is about 40% black. When Barack Obama ran for president, he got about 40% of the vote. So like basically, the supermajority of the black people voted for him, and the supermajority of the non-black people in the state voted against. And that's the way that it tends to line up across the state. So, what people call race and and voting choice is very much in alignment in the state of Mississippi. So if you say you're not redistricting in Mississippi based on race but on politics, then all of the Democrats in the state legislature, there may be one Republican. My understanding is basically every Democrat in the state legislature, every black in the legislature is a Democrat, and I believe there's a couple non-black Democrats in the legislature, but the supermajority can be told along. If you see a black representative in the state capitol, then you can almost rest assured that representative ran as a Democrat in the state of Mississippi.
So do you think that voting actually gives power to the folks in our communities?
It gives.
And so
it can advance, and it is a power, but it is not the same thing as power. It is a tool to gain power. It can be a tool to preserve power, but it is just a tool. And it's not always the strongest tool, but it is a tool. And there can be power even without the vote. And I think we have to begin to prepare for the possibility of having to get back into the kind of fighting mode in the South that our people were in prior to the passage of the Voting Rights Act. But it's also important to realize that we won the right to vote without the right to vote. So we didn't vote in the right to vote. Our people fought for the right to vote and won that fight. And actually, music played a major role in organizing our people towards that fight.
Right. And so wouldn't that create since you had to fight for something and you won we as a people, we won the right to vote, wouldn't that build our level of fear? Would that you think that there are parties that are fearful of our vote?
There are absolutely parties that are fearful of our vote. In fact, throughout the South, you really have a neo-Confederate power structure that came into place in the aftermath of the Civil War. Because in Mississippi, after the Civil War, the majority of the voters were black.
Hold on 1 second, bro. Neo-Confederate. Can you explain that, go into more detail?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, during the Civil War, you had the Confederacy, which were the southern states that were trying to break away from the United States of America in order to
keep slavery,
preserve slavery and preserve their power within the economy. And so, though they lost the Civil War, they actually were able to gain power back. The people who supposedly lost the war were able to, after the Civil War, cut a deal effectively with the Republican Party nationally to take back control of the states that they were in control of prior to the war at our expense. And once they did that, they put things back in the order that they wanted it to be. Because in Mississippi, we had a black senator, and not just in the state Senate, but in the United States Senate in the 1870s. And we haven't had one since, even though this is the blackest state in the country. We have 0 statewide black elected officials since Reconstruction.
And we won the right to vote. But what did we win?
Well, we won a lot of things, but I think what we could have won and what we can yet win has been limited by the fact that people thought that just the vote by itself was going to be sufficient to change the fundamental situation that our people find ourselves in the country. And I don't think that's the case. But we have in Mississippi one of the highest rates of black political representation, but we don't control the state. And so all of our power is municipal and county power, no state level power. And if you open up these Americans' Constitution, you won't see municipalities or counties. You see only the state and the federal government.
Well, let me ask you this, bro. In in the state of America today, and in our communities, what do you see we have more of now as it pertains to resources, as we had back then, back in the day. Do we have anything that resource wise, that we have more of than back then?
In a sense, it depends on how you define the we, because if you're just talking about black individuals, then there are certainly black individuals who have many more things than black individuals had at that point in time. But as a collective, the community, especially in the South, is in many ways weaker now than it was prior. In some ways, it's stronger. So we do have, like I said, when Robert Clark was elected in '67, he was the only black representative in the state legislature. And now we have a slew of people. But because they're not a majority, and not only are they not a majority, there's a Republican supermajority in the House, and there was just the breaking of their supermajority in the state Senate. So we have people in those positions in the state government, but they don't have enough to have state power. And we have no governor that supports anything that we might even consider close to progressive in Mississippi. But that is within striking reach for our people in Mississippi if we are properly organized.
Right.
And it's not like these victories didn't matter. Like the Mississippi my grandmother lived in is not the same Mississippi I live in.
Right. Man, I wanna slide over into the topic of voter suppression.
Mhm.
These things that we still seems like we fighting for what we already won to a degree, like the vote, because they're doing a lot of different things. The redlining, you just different things to control the narrative of the vote.
Mhm.
So, what are some of the things that we could do to kind of keep what we won, so to speak?
Right. And to make advances as well. So
Yeah.
it might seem, basic, but one of the things that we can do is we do need to vote more. So, like, for instance, in the last governor's race in Mississippi, that race was decided by around 25,000 votes. But we had over 3 times that number of registered black voters who didn't vote.
Mhm.
Many of them didn't vote because they didn't believe that there could be any kind of change, any kind of challenge to the status quo in Mississippi, because there hasn't been.
Right.
They were incorrect. We had the power. If we didn't get a single white voter to change the way they voted, the black vote alone had the power to change that. We can also fight for the reenfranchisement for people who've lost their right to vote, to get their right to vote back in the same way that we fought to get our right to vote to begin with.
23 crimes.
Absolutely. And that's disenfranchised over 100,000 people. So that's
Wow.
more than 4 times the margin of victory in the
Right.
last governor's race. So we have pathways to political power on the state level where we could begin to address some of these things. But I
Yeah.
think that alone insufficient. We have to begin to build
Put
power
things
in the
together
yes.
like they got an organization here, One Voice. They specialize in getting people voters registration. A lot of other organizations don't. I can't think of right now. I don't want to miscall them.
Yeah, but that is one. That's a very important one.
That is one, and so there are other entities here in the city that are doing it. We just have to, I think, find better ways to culminate everybody and get everybody on the same page, so mindset, so to speak, as it pertains to working together.
I agree, but I also think that we have to regionalize, nationalize our fight so that we can put a little guerrilla action into the electoral politics. So we know that in Mississippi, we don't have a black majority.
Right.
And in the United States, we don't have a black majority.
Right.
But if we pull people from all over the region and all over the state for particular things in Mississippi or particular things in Louisiana, we can have a majority, a temporary majority at the point of engagement through many things. So if we can bring, just like during the civil rights movement, students came from all over the country and other people to help engage in voter registration in Mississippi.
But as I'm looking at the situation, wouldn't the black vote just be a swing vote, more or less?
It depends on what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, it would still be somebody, white in office or whatever.
Not necessarily, not in Mississippi necessarily, because given the number and the share of the vote that is black, which is about 40%, some people say about 43% of the state. that means that that's a very sizable section of the population already.
Right.
And within the primary process, Black voters definitely have the votes by themselves to control every statewide Democratic primary in the state of Mississippi,
Mm.
if
So
they so chose.
let me make sure I understand what you're saying, brother. So what you're saying that Mississippi, is we're first at being last with almost everything.
Mhm.
But what you're saying is that we have enough people here voter-wise with this state can change the trajectory of America. We doing
Of
it?
the whole South in
Yeah.
particular. But I think, yes, I think it can change the trajectory of things even outside the South, But I think that certainly in the state of Mississippi, Black people on their own
Mm.
engaging more thoroughly in the process, but also becoming involved in organizational structures on their local and
Right.
county level have the power to change the politics of the state and Louisiana and South Carolina because they're coming after us in all of these states. Louisiana was targeted for reconquest, in particular in the aftermath of Katrina,
Right.
And I think we need to mobilize all our assets to begin the struggle for real power. And music is one of those very powerful tools in
Right.
every people's freedom struggle.
Right.
And we have to embrace the power of music and the power of the musician
Indeed.
to play a role in advancing the struggle.
And so that's a pertinent point, brother. Um, mm, what advice would you have for artists as it pertains to champion votes or what are some of the things that they could do get involved in?
Well, I would just speak to them like I speak to any other person, because they're just they're a part of our community and they're people. Not for me to tell them how they
brother Maria.
Hey, I'm here, bro.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, I've been listening.
Okay. Yeah, man. We touching in. We've been rolling.
Yeah, and it's almost time for me to roll out.
Yeah, we're gonna go.
Oh, I've been listening. I've been listening to Devin.
But it's
Bringing up
good to see you. Good to hear you, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. You too. I hate I'm
No.
not sitting there beside you, man. I've been had to go out in the forest for my little internship thing, and everything
Wow.
ran over.
Yeah, how everything go?
All right. I'm with the capital defense team, so I have to see all the people that's on my
man.
little caseload.
I know Devin gonna have to go here for in a short while.
Yeah,
We're
but
gonna go
and
to
before I
commercial.
go, we could do a little segue to something you might, hopefully we can get Fiend back on, even though I'll miss that segment. But one of the things that Maurice and others were working on is the fact that when we had this freeze, that a lot of people in northern portions of Mississippi lost power, lost water, and that wasn't just for people living in the community. That happened in prisons as well.
Right.
And so you had people in various institutions around Mississippi without water or without power.
Right.
And that has catastrophic consequences because if you're in prison, you can't get out and go get a generator. You can't go to Walmart and try to get a blanket or an
Right.
extra sweater. You got what you got and you're trapped where you are.
Yep.
And so that's something that I think is important. And we had other cities, whole cities, where people had no access to water, not just because it had to happen because of the freeze, but because there was no backup generator able to run uh, the facilities that get the water to the people.
Yeah.
And so these are failures that are not unrelated to elections, that are not unrelated to the priorities of people who have and have had power in the state of Mississippi. So this is
Yeah, man. I want to give a shout out to all of the people in and around the Jackson area, man. We had this freeze. They stepped up. I got a string here. I couldn't get to it. But you got Miss Pamela Wu. You got, that's Rokia Lumumba. I'm just looking at the phone here. And so all of these people, like, these are the kind of actions that we need, Brother Maurice. He was on there, they're aiding and assisting. These are the kind of actions we need on a broader scale, bro. Like,
absolutely.
for real. Like, to just get everybody to come together and you can probably gnaw every situation down a little better, quicker. But yeah, man, we're going to go to a commercial break. Brother Darren, Hey, man. You know what it is, man. Where you headed off to now?
Always a pleasure. I got a 7 o'clock meeting.
Okay. All right, brother. Well, we're going to go to commercial break and we'll be right back. Y'all stay tuned.
Nice. Take care.
Probably tomorrow. Come on, 1095, you're gonna request to file for your state tax. So I'll call that tomorrow. Yeah, I got everything right here. I need some.
All right, we back. Gonna change seating here. Maurice, so how did everything go, bro?
The death penalty. So that's all. So we're trying to humanize them so that they don't get the death penalty. So that's my role as an intern, as a mitigation specialist. So, and I have just add another somebody else to my team. So I have four people on my caseload that I have to see and try to figure out a way to humanize them. You know what I mean? So that's all. Yeah. How you been, brother?
I've been maintaining.
What happened? Fiend couldn't get back on?
He said he's gonna try to get on now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was he and I were talking before y'all clicked us in.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. I'll get back over here so this mic can swing. I can get closer to it there.
Yeah, but other than that, man, how that baby, how the family doing?
Oh, they doing good, man. They doing good.
So what's the word? We talking about we getting ready for the election this year? I think this is a midterm right here, so
Yeah,
we
man.
got
Yeah.
to be boots on the ground, you know. And so
Oh, Witherspoon, that my brother is.
yeah,
What
What
say,
it do, what
bro?
it do, what it do, what it
You at
do.
that stove?
Over the stove like hove, you heard me?
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Just wanna hit you in, man. So I don't know, man. You know, you're a legend, recognizable easily.
yeah.
Um, I mean, what do you think? You know, what do you think we could do, man, to change some of this stuff in the community? You know, as you being a legend, or multi-platinum recording artist and so forth and so on. What are some of the things you
You, you,
think?
ask,
think
you asking me?
yes, sir.
Man, I think that we gotta stop waiting for somebody to fix our shit.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
okay.
I think we gotta
Yeah.
nobody help us. You know what I'm saying? If we don't unite with us to help us,
Yeah.
we already know the outcome. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We
Yeah.
99.9% we know the outcome. I think I heard y'all talking about this area of people that was getting sick or something out there, and that they was
Mhm.
looking, to do something about it. If that's not government assisted property that they living in,
Mhm.
and like say they are renters or owners or whatever, I would pack up my shit and leave and go and everybody come together, pool together their resources and go get their own subdivision or their own apartment complex or something and let people
Mhm.
feel my dollar. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm not gonna
Right.
stay where they got my children, my family members, my brothers and my sisters getting sick at, and I wouldn't make no announcements. I'd just be like, you know what, my lease coming up, or you know what, or whatever the case, and we gonna go get 20 acres, 30 acres, whatever, and everybody come together and just make their own community. That's
For
the
real.
best thing I would say to do. I know it sounds easy how I'm saying it, and I'm quite sure it has some challenges,
Uh-huh.
but that would
Yeah.
be where I would start to keep it
Yeah.
a buck with you. I would start there, and I would let that be proof it can happen, and then from there just do it again and tell that
Right.
plan
Yeah.
to the next generation so they can do it, and less announcements, more actions. That way, we ain't got to worry about being I'm not saying we're gonna stop being what they call targeted, but
Hmm.
you
Right.
you'll know who coming in that subdivision.
Yeah, but thing, here go the
Yeah.
thing, right? Well, the area they talking about, like Gloucester, which is not really far from Louisiana.
Uh-huh.
All these people, they've been making it say check to check. Most of them live below the poverty line,
Hmm.
so they've been there. They've been there since the late 1800s, early 1900s. They
Right.
put these paper mills back in there in the 30s and the 40s. They've been aligned with these fake tests, like the water wasn't doing anything to them.
Right.
And so people have been coming up with all these mysterious illnesses and dying and stuff. And so the water has been contaminated all the time. So they've been lying to these people.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? All these years. So it'll be hard for them to get up and move and leave there, because everything that they ever known for generations has been right there. Some of them still living in their grandmother's house. Their grandparents' house.
Right. I,
So
I
that's the thing. Yeah,
I feel that. I feel that.
yeah,
But like, are you if you able to leave your foot in a trap, and it
right.
bleeds till it got to be amputated, or are you gonna try to get up out of there?
Yeah, you're right.
I get it, but sometimes God will give you a certain type of adversity to get yourself up out of there because you don't belong in them conditions.
Uh-huh.
Right.
I love us enough to know that we gotta. I get the premise,
Water.
but what are we doing to change the premise?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody of the right age can step in there and help out them brothers and sisters, those elders or whatever, and help them out. That land is worth money.
Yeah.
Each
Yeah,
person
you're right.
come together, figure that out. They could do something about that. I don't want to stay where I'm prone to get cancer because of certain areas or certain illnesses. I can't just say I got nowhere else to
Right.
go. That's crazy. To
Yeah.
think that God will let you only have that. Why would God sit you there to die if there's something if you'll be dead already? Learn from it and so we can earn from it and move from that.
Uh-huh.
They
Yeah.
deserve
Well,
that.
let me step in, brother. Let me ask you this question here.
Mhm.
What do you to both of you brothers? I'm gonna pose this question. What do you all think is the biggest thing that's hurting our communities in America today? The
Waiting
biggest
for
thing.
somebody to save us. Waiting for somebody to save us.
And spending our money outside of our community.
Hmm.
Waiting for somebody to save us and not knowing how to save money.
Right.
But that
Okay.
goes deeper because we all know what it's like to want some gold on us and some fine threads because we want to love ourselves out loud and we want people to know that we love ourselves and we are of some importance. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you want to start at the fabric of it, you know, people got to change the environment. They got to be okay with knowing that I don't have to live here. I'm gonna go figure it out. One thing
Hmm.
about Katrina, when Katrina happened, it made people have to figure that shit out. You know what I'm saying? We were forced to have
Hmm.
to figure that shit out more than think that, well, maybe somebody gonna come and just figure it out and know that we hurting. And I get that. But if you
Right.
sick and I keep passing your house and seeing you sick, I gotta do something. Let's figure something out. I think people need to talk more and figure that out. Don't wait on the senators
Yeah.
and all those people. Try to figure out something with each other to make that happen. I honestly think I think that's the space to be in. If honestly, if there was three houses and we were talking about three houses, yours, mine, and his, I guarantee you we figure it out and be like, man, we gotta get John from over there, bro, because this is what's going on over there. We're gonna figure it out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Man, they treating them bad over there, man. You know, it's causing cancer to the kids. It's doing da 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 da. We're gonna get up out of there. See, they feel whoever is oppressing that situation know that those people feel that they have nowhere else to go, and that's
Mhm.
where the respect of your dollar and your body being in a piece of property, you got to stand somewhere and change up the. You got to change up the situation. You know, no, we don't need that. Somebody somewhere, bro. They got GoFundMe's, all kind of things. We got to take chances. We can start with one person back there. Get them from back there, and they're gonna say, "Yeah, man, we got tired of it, man. I found a little piece of property, and my mama did this, my auntie did this, and it take like that. I'm not gonna lay up here and just die, waiting for
Mhm.
somebody to see me back here, me and my family back here, and we getting ill. You know what I'm saying? We need to wake those people up. You hear me? Wake that up.
For
Change
sure.
up. Yes, you know, let's all go get jobs at the plant. Let's all go here. Let's
Yeah.
do something. We're all gonna work a 3-year plan, and we're gonna come together and put a fund together and get us up out of there. Because if not, my brother, the same things are gonna happen, and we gonna be pointing the finger at who?
Brother Maurice,
Nobody's coming to save
Yeah.
us, bro.
Nobody.
do
Yeah.
you know, in your expert opinion, with you dealing with felons, bro, do you think that the disenfranchisement of the felons, you know, based in this state in particular, the 23 crimes that prevent you, do you think that's justice or some sort of control mechanism? What do you think overall?
It's always been about control ever since the 13th Amendment, man, the loophole in the 13th Amendment, except those people who, you know, those who have been punished by a crime. And I think Mississippi has more laws that keeps us from voting than any other state. You talking about a check charge, man? I can't vote no more. In Maine, I can go in and shoot up the people in the court and still be able to vote for the next person in the next election. Massachusetts. No matter what I know, I can
For
never
sure.
lose my right to vote.
For
But
sure,
those are the
bro.
states, huh?
Yeah, bro, Fiend. You can never lose your right to vote in other than. So that's a fight down here. We I don't know if you could call it a fight, you know, maybe to just like I guess you could say fight forward, not fight back. But brother Fiend, let me ask you this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, seems like
Yeah.
you got cut off.
How you feeling you? Sound like you doing. But yeah, I was he muted. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we waiting on Brother Fiend to get back. He muted out there. Got the good brother while he was cooking dinner for the fam. He was gracious enough to join us this evening.
Yeah,
That's my brother. But yeah,
and that's one of the things that we've been working on year after year, man, trying to get some kind of bill to at least cut those charges in half
mhm.
that disenfranchise us, and to educate the brothers who don't know how to fight
Yeah.
to get their voting rights back, because a lot
Yeah,
of them have accessibility to that right, but they don't use it. Smoke.
right. And I was wondering because, like, when coming up, me and you know, growing up, voting never came up. It never came up at all. You know, I don't know about you. That's why I'm gonna ask Brother Fiend because I mean he was in a different stratosphere at that time. You
Yeah,
know,
they came up. You mean to my for the
like
people
in the
who?
hood, like somebody gonna talk about voting. Like, did
I
it
mean,
ever
I was
come up?
always, that up in the Delta, man. We were always our high schools had elementary and high school had elections just to show people how to cast, how to cast a vote. Whether it was for school, so something at the school, homecoming president, anything, the homecoming court. You had to cast a ballot. You had to actually fill out a ballot. So for each grade, each classroom, and they made sure that everybody in the class voted, whether
Mm,
they wanted to or not. You know what I mean? So they counted the vote, counted the students in the class, and counted all the ballots and stuff. They made us put our names on it so we can cast our ballot. So when they cast them, if they wanted to do a recount or anything, they could do that. So it was big in my high school. Of course, I'm from an all black town that
mhm,
highlights the necessity for the black community to exercise their right to vote. So I come up as a kid, 12 and 13, watching Fannie Lou Hamer speak at different places at different rallies. Didn't know who she was at the time. I just thought she was a lady speaking about the civil rights movement, just speaking about us coming together and everything, not knowing that I was standing before greatness. So, and a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know. I learned more about my town after I grew up and left there than
Yeah,
I did when I was there. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah, and so I mean, I suppose that there's a reason why we don't get the chance to get life skill information early on. You could say it's the school system. You say it's a lot of things, but more important, old brother Fiend, brother Fiend, thank you, man, for coming on, bro. I mean,
yeah,
bro, it's get tired. It gets tiring. It seems like it's like the words of brother Anthony Witherspoon. Man, you fighting a fight you can't fight. Like over here, and so they
yeah.
they making exodus moves to Africa and these different things, brother. Is that I'm asking? Do you think that that's a way to go? Just leave America, altogether.
Personally, I don't because the thing is, we got so much blood in the soil from our ancestors and forefathers on this land, building this land up and making it
Hmm.
land to what it is today. You understand? So
Right.
why abandon ship? Why abandon ship now? Why leave
Yeah.
now when our people have died trying to get us to right to vote? Our people have died tilling the land and coming. People like Mr. Socrates. Look at
Yeah.
everything that he invested into becoming a successful black
OG Sock.
businessman in this area. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
man. Big shout out to OG Sock, man. The man
yeah,
by himself. If we had a bunch of them, boy, we'd be hotter
yeah.
than fish grease around here. For real.
There's a lot of them, even over at the store where the brother
Uh, yeah,
who
brother
you shot
Tinker,
the
shout out
video.
to Brother Tinker, man.
Yeah,
Them
man. You know what I
purchasing
mean?
that store. We went and did a video out there, to represent the company. The situation Brother Tinker and his wife and brother. Shout out to Brother Pierre and Soup got going on, and we still in the works with other stuff.
Yeah,
Um, Coming
that's
to the
what it's
front,
gonna
but
take.
you see the video, you see the kids, you see stuff. You have to project those messages out there more than just with verbiage. You have to be a human doing as opposed to just being a human being. You know, and that's what we're attempting to do here, brother Maurice. Just add a narrative, add a voice. You know, so anybody that's with any kind of positivity or anything that's involving growth or helping the community, man, feel free to call in. And I mean, this show is called Live from the Pen, so they got a number where you can call in and we can interact. If you got family members that are going to prison, that are in prison or coming out, you got an expert right here on the phone with brother Maurice, and we experts at being locked up. Trust me. So
No,
any
surviving after lockup.
yeah,
Not,
yeah, that's the thing because
yeah,
it's one thing to go to prison, and once you go through that process, all your rights and stuff are stripped. You pretty much can only get a dishwashing job for the most, unless you have somebody to help you. But it's surviving after prison. That's the biggest thing today. Being able to get some rights back, being able to vote, being able to go get that job, being able to get that good credit. We
yep.
need to get on this stuff right now. You know,
Yeah. And even for those brothers who come out and their charge is one that can't be resolved through mitigation, then still educate the ones who are coming up behind you, them youngsters in the streets. Say, hey, man, if you catch this kind of charge, you'll never be able to exercise your right to vote. You'll never have a say in the political race or the political structure or what goes on in your community, ward, district, neighborhood, or anything. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Yeah. So the reckless stuff that you're doing is taking away your voice. You think that
right.
you raising sand in the street, but it's taking away your political power.
Yeah,
You know. So,
that's why it's imperative, brother, that we focus on the family structure. See,
yeah. Yeah, the family
The
unit is
man, the
everything.
woman, and the child. We have to,
Yeah,
get together at home and get together in our communities, in a real way,
yeah,
in a real way, an active way, talking, or like OG Sox say, talking is, pontificating. We don't want to just keep pontificating. We used to
yeah,
or do that at all. Useless talk. We want to, you know, we want to move. And we are
yeah.
moving. We're going to continue to move, bro. You know, I'm get ready to shut this thing down, brother Maurice, man. Our time is
Okay,
almost
brother.
here. Brother, I love you.
Yeah,
Peace and
love you too,
blessing to
brother.
everybody out there in TV land. It's your boy Smoke D. Again, the word for today is knee plus ultra. It means the highest level attainable. That means that whatever you're doing, do it in A plus ultra. You see? And
Yeah,
we'll have another word for you next week. Until you can reach me at Smoke D of UGK on all social media platforms. And until next time, this has been live from the pen. Y'all stay up. But
yeah. Peace.
peace.